Did you know that someone somewhere is talking about you? Yes, your school district, your business, your church, your nonprofit group is always the subject of a conversation somewhere. Maybe it's Facebook gossip, maybe it's talk around the water cooler, maybe it's written in a newspaper or a blog somewhere. At Right Team Services, we work with you to manage that conversation more effectively, to give all of your stakeholders an opportunity to hear your message. We help you create a culture of transparency in your organization that makes your customers and stakeholders feel comfortable as part of the story, and as a result, will help your business or school district become a more effective, trusted member of your community. Contact me today at rightteamservices@gmail.com to learn more about how Right Team can help you tell your story. This episode of the Right Team Podcast is also brought to you by Stiles Electric. For over 25 years, Stiles Electric has been providing reliable, professional electrical installation and repair service all throughout East Texas and beyond. We specialize in industrial and commercial projects of all sizes. We are proud to be a part of our communities and schools here in East Texas. Contact us today at 903-236-2536. That's Stiles Electric, reliable, professional, and experienced.
It is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026, and this is from the Press Box on the Right Team Podcast. We are podcasting from deep inside the piney woods of East Texas. I am David Weaver, the host of the Right Team Podcast, along with my co-host, the sports director of KMHT 103.9 FM, the heartbeat of East Texas, and the pastor of Friendship Baptist Church in Marshall, Texas. Not necessarily in that order, Brother Matt Paul. How you doing this morning?
Doing good, man. Beautiful day out here in East Texas. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. We're starting to get in the mid to upper 80s. We've got a burn ban, which is weird for March. I don't know. It has me scared to death about July and August if we're already getting this in March. But anyway, it's a beautiful day. I love this weather.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I mean, I get up at the crack of dawn and do my thing, and I am actually being able now to walk outside in sleeves instead of having to put on a jacket. So, springtime is definitely here. And as far as the burn ban goes, I mean, we've had some rain lately. It's a little surprising that we still have one. Is that a Marshall thing based on the trouble y'all had last week?
I know it's in Marshall. I don't know if they've announced a county one yet. I know Marion County has. We've had like one rain in the past 10 days or so, but then it was a couple weeks prior to that before our last one. So it is, I can tell you, it's dry as all get out. I see people mowing out here and there's a cloud around them. So
yeah, I'm not a big outdoor burn guy anyway, so it really doesn't affect me much. I just know one thing: if you don't know that there's a burn ban and you're going to do burning outside, at least locally, if you're listening to us, do not call and ask if there's a burn ban, because I did that one time and they sent the entire fire department out to inspect my burn pile.
Gosh, wow.
So if you let them know that you're burning, they're going to come check it, or at least in my case, they did. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to burn much outside anymore unless it's in a barrel or something.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's your weather report here from the Press Box on the Right Team Podcast. If you are in the beautiful country of East Texas, let's get right into our show today. I'm adding a little bit different. I don't know, I guess, Matt, and you've been with me long enough now to know that I don't keep things the same pretty much day to day, which kind of keeps me on my toes. But we had so many really good headlines that I saw yesterday as they were coming out. I was like, man, we need to talk about this and break it down. And so we're going to it's kind of a mini fast break kind of segment here today that we're going to talk about. But I did want to start with, of course, and you mentioned this. Oh my gosh, a couple of days ago, maybe, or we may have talked about it yesterday. I don't know. My days are getting mixed up this time of year, but it's final now with Hubert Davis being out. It was announced last night. He is out as head coach at North Carolina. And of course, now all the rumors are starting and who's going to step into that job, which is, I mean, let's face it, when North Carolina opens up, I mean, say what you want about Duke and say what you want about Kansas and some of these other blue bloods, but when this job opens up, I mean, it is the prime job in college basketball, is it not?
It's I can count on one hand the number of programs that I'd put in the same breath historically, in the same stratosphere as North Carolina. And I'm going to talk a little more about this on my back page, but yeah, it is almost kind of without even realizing it, it sort of slipped into, I'm not going to say mediocrity. I think they're better than mediocre. In fact, just a few years ago, they were a Cinderella run from an 8 seed all the way to the national championship game. But you don't see North Carolina as a 1 or a 2 seed anymore. And you haven't for a few years. So it's sort of like we blinked and we're like, is Carolina still good? I don't know. Maybe I see him in the tournament, but so yeah, this is a big hire for them, but it's historically, I mean, Dean Smith, Roy Williams, Michael Jordan, the list could go on and on about historically what this program has been, the best rivalry possibly in sports, Duke, North Carolina. So yeah, you can shoot for the moon. The good part about looking for a job, looking to hire a coach at North Carolina is you can go ask a guy, and if he tells you no, no one can say, well, how would you think you could get that guy? Because you're North Carolina. That's why you think you could get that guy. So you can ask anybody and not be ridiculous for doing it.
Well, and immediately, of course, these who's next stories come out. If you follow ESPN or really any other sports site on the internet, after all of this broke, they've already got their list posted on these things. And I always wonder how plugged in these guys really are, because some of these names that come up, I'm thinking, are they really a candidate? And ESPN has actually put theirs up. There was actually some quicker up last night. One interesting name here that you'll know well, and I don't think there's much a chance at all, is Brad Stevens. His name keeps popping up. Of course, he is currently the president of operations with the Celtics. Of course, you know that very well. Hasn't actually coached in college now for 12 seasons, I believe. And why would he even consider going back and being a coach where he's at now, which he's probably not? Again, the odds probably aren't very good at all, but this might be one job that would lure somebody like that back into the game, right?
Yeah, it would potentially. I mean, that is shooting for the moon. It's also a little bit risky. Not to make an exact comparison, because it's definitely not, but North Carolina football took a risk on a guy that had maybe was a little out of touch with coaching college kids. Brad Stevens has been in the NBA a long time. He's been not just coaching, but had to shift into more of a GM administrative type role, which you do have more of in college sports now with NIL and all the rest. But I don't know. If I'm North Carolina, that at least is a big name that probably doesn't put you at risk of, if it doesn't work out. It's like you got Brad Stevens. Why wouldn't you get that? But if I'm North Carolina, I'm wanting to go get a guy that in the last 5 years has had a lot of success in college basketball. A proven guy. Obviously, when you hired Roy Williams and Hubert Davis, you had the benefit of getting guys that were North Carolina. They were that baby blue through and through. I don't know that there's anybody like that necessarily, but you and I have thrown a lot of names. I mean, you're swinging. If I'm North Carolina, I'm swinging for Golden at Florida. I'm making him say no. Possibly the Iowa State guy. It's TJ. I can't pronounce his old
Otzelberger.
Something like that. Yeah. I'm taking a swing there. I'm looking at someone. Mark Few maybe, but he's kind of found his niche and it's working. And I don't know how well it works elsewhere. If those two don't work out, if you like swing big, Nate Oats at Alabama it makes a lot of sense to look. If you can make Alabama into practically a basketball school, you're pretty good. Now I don't know about all his players that keep getting arrested. That's another story for another time. But they should shoot for the moon. They can shoot for the moon. Dusty May at Michigan. I don't know why he'd do it, but you shoot for that guy. Because if you land Golden or May, at no point are you going to fall under any criticism. Golden and May might fail at North Carolina, but at no point can you say, how could you hire them? Because look what those dudes are doing.
Yeah, and I was talking to you before we started recording. There were some rumors, and they were rumors apparently. They've not been confirmed by any of the what I would consider legitimate sources that Bill Self is retiring. And again, that's just a rumor that I read today. Again, don't that is not fact.
Right.
But it made me think if he could pull a Roy Williams and maybe just shift across Blue Bloods and take a North Carolina job, because all indications are with him, at least, he's not retired. He doesn't want to retire for good. It could be just one of those things where it's just time to go separate ways at Kansas, right? But I would think that would be an interesting matchup there. He may be a little bit, as far as his age, not something that they're looking for at North Carolina. But again, when you have this type of a high-profile opening in any sport, the blue blood, you're not doing your due diligence if they don't go after some who would seem to be untouchable. And
yeah,
that's why all these names like Brad Stevens and Billy Donovan and all of these other names who have made, are big names are being considered right now. And hey, and we've heard it before. You call these people and you make them say no. It doesn't hurt to make the phone call. And I'm sure that's already taken place with some of these names. It's interesting. I also noticed even before the Davis news broke yesterday, you saw, some reports coming out about Florida trying to get an extension with Todd Golden. I mean, it's almost like they smelled and sensed this was coming, and now he's got tremendous leverage there. If he would be considering a move from there, I mean, that's pretty bold to leave a team that won a national championship last year at a quality Division I program, and to jump and take a North Carolina job. That would be bold to me.
Yeah. And it's one of these deals where, like, you look at Kalen DeBoer at Alabama, who prior to that took Washington to the national championship game, and you're like, you're in a power school about to go into the Big Ten in one of the best conferences, and you just left and went to Alabama because there's certain programs that do that. And North Carolina is one of those programs. If you make a name for yourself at North Carolina, it means more in history in college basketball than if you make a name for yourself in Florida. It just does. And so that would be interesting. I'd say another name that pops up. You mentioned Billy Donovan. I think that's one I'm hearing a lot of, and I'm curious to see how that would work. There's a guy who had a ton of success, obviously, in college. But McCollum at Iowa. Wherever that dude goes, he wins. And now he's got Iowa in the Sweet 16. And one of the more underrated matchups in the Sweet 16, I know we're going to break that down tomorrow, is Nebraska and Iowa. Those two schools hate each other. Those two states might even hate each other. I don't know. But that's a win. He's beaten Nebraska already this year. He gets Iowa into the Elite Eight, or my goodness, even the Final Four. That's one of the hottest coaching commodities there is. He's won everywhere he's been. So that's another name to watch if the big dogs they kind of strike out on.
Agreed. Always interesting to watch the coaching carousel, and this one is a big one. So we'll see how all that plays out. And I mean, my gosh, if and when Bill Self decides to walk away at Kansas, if that UNC job is still open, to have both Kansas and North Carolina open at the same time in college basketball, it's going to be very interesting to see for sure. A lot of recruits watching this as well. Right?
Yep.
I mean, this is a pivotal time for them, and of course, you've got North Carolina, who had a top 10 class coming in again, and all those guys have wiped North Carolina off of their Twitter pages and everything right now. It's just to see what happens. So a lot of potential recruits out there. A lot of phone calls being made this morning around the country for sure.
Yep.
I want to skip this next item and come back to it, Matt, because we will have some discussion on it here. But I did want to also point out here, as we are talking about the front page from the press box on the Right Team podcast this morning, some pretty big baseball and softball action that went around our area last night. I know you have some insight on this, but man, what a classic that took place down in division or District 19 2A in baseball down in Legion Field last night, right?
Yeah. Tristan Lundy at KMHT keeping me in the loop. He does a great job. Folks, if you're not following Tristan Lundy and you're interested in local high school sports in East Texas, then you're missing out. But he's keeping us up to speed on Facebook. He's also texting me. The game's 1-1 going into the ninth. Senior Garrett Ruse beats out an infield single. Zane Childs comes all the way around from second to score a run to walk off Beckville 2-1 in a game that each team had chances to take leads late, and the pitching and the defense just wouldn't allow them to do it. And it's baseball is maybe the only sport in my mind. Like, look, if I'm watching a football game and it's 6-3, I'm like, oh, the defense is maybe doing good, but come on. If I'm watching a college basketball, if we're watching the Sweet 16 and it's 46-43 with 2 minutes to go, I'm like, what am I watching here? But baseball 2-1 in 9 innings, for some reason, that's riveting to me. I'm fascinated by it. And so huge win for EF. I'm telling you what, that district with these two teams plus Harleton, who may be the toughest of all of them, that is a feisty baseball district and some teams that could be tough outs come playoff time.
Yeah, you mentioned that the district and just taking a look at the standings now, of course, that was a big win for EF over a rival in extra innings, all the excitement. Pitcher John Beavers, who is already a signee with Hill College, of course, went 8 2/3 innings in that game last night, just all the way into the 9th inning. Got that win. Outstanding effort there by their senior. But that win actually pulls Legion Fields into a tie with Beckville for second place. A game behind Harleton, which is undefeated in the district race. Both Beckville and EF are now 4-1. So not only was that an exciting win for the Jackets, but it also, one they really needed to keep, within shouting distance of the district championship potentially.
No doubt about it. And, 8 2/3 innings. A lot of people may not know this. You only get 110 pitches. It's not that they just left him in and he kept grinding it out.
That's a great point.
He somehow managed to pitch that many innings on only 110 pitches. That's impressive.
And as a dad of a former high school pitcher who threw a lot of innings in high school, I am really thankful for that pitch count.
Yes.
And I never met a baseball coach that I really thought would abuse a kid with that. But if you don't have any limits, I mean, the temptation is there if the kid's looking good to let him throw 120, 130 pitches. And I don't think in my case, I don't think it was ever an issue. My son fortunately had kind of a rubber arm at that point and was pretty strong. But when the UIL instituted that pitch count, I thought that was a great idea just to kind of keep everybody, in check, just in case you were tempted to maybe, push a kid. And so anyway, that's a great rule. And that's a great point that you brought up there, to be able to throw almost 9 innings and keep your pitch count below 110. I mean, that's Greg Maddox type stuff, right?
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
For the folks out there who may remember Greg Maddox once threw a complete game, I think in 72 pitches in the majors. It was unbelievable. But anyway, congratulations down there to Elysian Fields and Beckville also. I mean, they put together a pretty good baseball game to watch down there in the south part of Harrison County. One more baseball and softball note from last night. From my neck of the woods over here in Hallsville, both the Bobcats and the Lady Cats had big wins at home last night for baseball and softball. The girls won their game 6-1 over White House and in front of a packed house there at Lady Cat Field. And And they pull now into a tie with White House atop the district standings. That was a big win for them at 6-1 overall in the district standings. And then the boys just down the street also pulled out a win over White House. 11-4 was the final score in that game.
Wow.
And that allows Hallsville to pull within, I think, one game, or they're actually tied, I think, now atop the district standings with Mount Pleasant, I believe, that is up there with them. So anyway, some big wins for Hallsville last night in District 10 5A baseball and softball. Those district races now are kind of starting to take shape and form here as we get to the latter part of March. So now let's talk about the thing that's kind of uncomfortable to talk about. And you and I have talked about this before, and I apologize to anyone who may take offense to some things I may say with this, because I just feel led to say it. So, and it's my podcast. So, so there was this story that came out yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, Matt, on ESPN. A lawsuit has been filed against the NFL and their sportsbook partners with two defendants. It's a gambling addiction lawsuit. This was a story, again, that was up on ESPN yesterday afternoon, written by David Purdom. I'm just going to read a little bit of it here, and then I want to, again, let's talk about it a little bit just from our perspective that we get to talk about. And I'm going to preface this by saying, if you've listened to our podcast, particularly back in the fall when we first started talking about this, I believe you brought it up, and it was a great point about how everyone, all of our leagues now are pretty much in bed with these gambling sites and Vegas itself and everything. And so let me just read some of this story and then we'll get into it. But it says, a lawsuit filed Tuesday in Pennsylvania State Court accused sportsbooks FanDuel and DraftKings of using data supplied by the NFL to offer a, quote, known addictive product, as well as VIP hosts to encourage two plaintiffs to keep betting, eventually leading to gambling disorders and financial losses. It goes on to say the NFL and its data partner Genius Sports are named defendants in the suit, in addition to FanDuel, DraftKings, and 5 sportsbook employees who were assigned as VIP hosts to plaintiffs Christopher Sage and Terry Thompson. Of course, the NFL declined to comment. ESPN reached out to DraftKings, FanDuel, and Genius Sports for comment. Apparently, they haven't received that back. But this complaint alleges that DraftKings and FanDuel specifically used the NFL's live data feed to offer in-game micro betting, a form of gambling believed to be more addictive, according to the lawsuit. Attorneys for Sage and Thompson say the two Pennsylvania men developed severe gambling disorders and lost more than $2 million combined to the sports books for several years. For those out there who are like me and don't understand anything about this betting environment, micro betting where bettors wager on in-game moments with such as a free throw in basketball or a specific play in football requires a near real-time data feed to accept and resolve bets during contests. NFL provides this official data to sportsbooks through Genius Sports, in which it owns an equity stake. DraftKings and FanDuel have said that live betting accounts for approximately 50% of the wagers made on their platforms. So the way I read this, you've got two men who, well, I'm just going to say you had a gambling problem because you're gambling away millions of your own, $2 million combined to these sports books, and now you want the money back. Is what it sounds like in this story. And look, you and I have both talked about this before from our standpoint of this, and I'm just going to reiterate this the way I feel about gambling. And look, I have friends who do this. And I want those who may be listening to know, I'm not accusing or pointing a finger or judging anyone. Right. But I go back to what I said originally, I think, and that is, and this is a tired analogy because people have heard me talk about it, but it's the best way for me to talk about it, Matt. And that is, if you play with snakes, you're going to get bit. So why would you play with snakes, right? I have worked in recovery ministries for years before, and the story is always the same. It's I got addicted to alcohol, or I got addicted to drugs, or I got, and it doesn't say it in scripture that specifically gambling is a sin. Okay. And I would agree with that. I would agree with the gambling is not the sin, but the sin comes from your addiction to it and the fact that it dominates your life to the point where you spent $2 million of your own money and now you want it back. Right.
Yeah.
I don't know where this goes other than the fact that it's going to get worse, because we see it now with all of these sports leagues. You can't continue, and I'm just going to say it again, you can't continue to play with the snakes and expect the snake not to be a snake at some point. You're not going to be the one that beats the system. The system will always win.
Yep.
And I don't care if it's $5 or if it's $50. Look, you spend your money the way you want. It's your money, and I know that you do that. But I'm just telling you, for those out there who are listening, in my opinion, it's a dangerous game that you're playing, because they don't want just the $5. They want you to keep betting and keep betting and keep betting until you've given up millions of dollars. That's their goal. Their goal is not to help you win. Their goal is to take your money. Anything you want to add to that?
I completely agree. And I've got family members who have, kind of fallen prey to addiction with gambling, with alcohol. I've walked through it with them before. And it's one of these deals. I tell my kids, I used to tell them a lot. Of course, they're not, one of them's not at home. The other one's about to not be at home. So it's one of these where you're just hoping it sticks with them. But, what positive could come from that? I understand that some negatives might not have come, but what positive can come from that? And it's, as someone who, my sons would sometimes ask, like I am even to the point, like I get in bracket pools and all the rest, but like if I have a bracket pool with somebody and they're like, even like $5, I'm like, look, can I be in it? But if I win it, the second place person get the money. And they're like, yeah, that's fine. So I just I don't do it, because I know some of what my personality is. Like, I'm the kind of guy that if I'm playing a game on my phone that I feel like I should win and I don't win it, I will play immediately again until I win. And sometimes you lose like 6 in a row and you're just chasing those losses, right? Mm-hmm. Well, on a game on my phone, that's fine. Yeah, I might waste a little time and I need to recoup that time, and that's a negative, but I'm not losing any money. That's what ends up happening in a lot of these situations. And it's really, really scary. And I'm not one of these that, like, look, I'm a pastor. David, if you want to go home tonight after a busy day, a full day, and kick back and watch a baseball game while drinking a beer, I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't think it's wrong. I think drunkenness is wrong. I think going out and getting wasted is wrong. So I understand that if I were to make a $5 bet on a bracket, it's not morally wrong, but I see where it can go. And that's why, for me, knowing my own weaknesses, I don't want to touch it. It's like you talking about that snake analogy. If I hear there's a snake in the house, I don't go in the house and keep my eyes open for the snake. I just avoid the house. I call somebody. That's kind of how I am. So that's the way I view it.
And again, it's not the actual gambling or the drinking, and we've talked about that. It's not that part of it. And I get it. Churches and Christians and folks like that in years past, I grew up around it, where if you sniffed alcohol, or if you did bet $5 on the office pool, it was almost like being excommunicated from your fellowship. You just
for sure
couldn't do that, and we've gotten past that. But I can tell you, I have sat in recovery meetings with other folks and ministered with them, And I see what this does to people who started out with, well, it's just one drink or it's just one bet.
Right.
And it has ruined their life. That's the thing I'm talking about. When, the enemy doesn't play the entire movie out in front of you when he tempts you to do something. When he tempts you to take that drink, or he tempts you to smoke the cigarette, right? Or whatever it is. He doesn't play it all out to the end. He just tells you, or there's no harm to this, to do that. And we put warning labels on all of this stuff. And you ever wondered why, when you listen to a gambling ad on a radio station or TV station, when they get to the part where they're reading the disclaimer, how you can't ever understand what they're saying? They speed it up.
Yeah.
That's where we put the disclaimer out there to protect us, but we don't want you understanding the real dangers of this. It's the same thing as the cigarette label. We've had cigarette labels on packages for decades, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, literally says that it can give you cancer or that it's harmful to your health, but they put it in such small, print or whatever that whoever reads that thing anymore, right?
Right.
But anyway, I don't mean to pick on people who are smoking and all that kind of stuff. Again, that's not the problem. It's the addiction part that comes to it, where you can't break it without it, before it destroys your life. Exactly. And that's just what I want to let everyone understand. It's like, don't let this stuff destroy your life. The only 100% way to not let it do that is to not get involved with it in the first place and to just avoid it. And so when I saw this story yesterday, I just kind of thought how ironic it was. Even at the end of the story, ESPN puts a disclosure and says ESPN has business partnerships with DraftKings and the NFL, right? I mean, they're themselves are caught up in all stuff, which 20 years ago, this was, Pete Rose was kept out of the Hall of Fame for betting, and just this week, baseball itself, has signed deals with with gamblers in these sites. And so I don't know, man, it's a slippery slope, and they've started down it almost to the point where there's no turning back. And I am not shocked at all when you see betting scandals happening in college sports, which we've seen this year, and pro sports. I mean, when you get in bed with the snake's going to bite you. And just please, if you're listening to us out there, I'm not meaning to put anyone down. Just please be careful and understand what you're dealing with, because next thing you know, you may be the one that's feeling like you have to file a lawsuit to save your financial life. I mean, can you imagine getting up $2 million? I can't even imagine how long it would take me to make $2 million to spend on something like this. And so, I mean, without hearing any of the evidence here, I'm just looking at it right now. I'm thinking, hey, this is not going to go your way, fellas. I mean, you walk into this knowing that this is what's there. So anyway, that'll be interesting to watch and see how that plays out. But I'm pretty sure I know what the outcome is going to be. The NFL and their gambling partners are, going to walk away with this and not be damaged at all. So buyer beware. Buyer beware.
That's right.
Okay, let's move on to some more fun things to talk about here. I had to get that off my chest and get my blood pressure up this morning, but I did promise, and I'm going to deliver today a Texas Rangers preview. I will preface this by saying I am a diehard Texas Rangers fan, and this is a fan podcast, and so a lot of this is going to be me just being hopeful, right?
Yes.
Which is what it is this time of year. But the Rangers, of course, start their season tomorrow afternoon on opening day. They'll be playing at Philadelphia in a 3-game weekend series. And I decided to do this, Matt, just by writing up a few questions that were really on my mind that I've watched and hoped for over the off season. I got to admit, going into spring training, I was not excited about this baseball team. Hadn't done a whole lot, over the winter to get better, in my opinion, especially on offense, where they were atrocious last year. But as spring training has gone on, hope springs eternal, right? I mean, I've seen kind of some of the new pieces, and if everything fits right, I think this team can be competitive again. And Let me tell you, and by answering some of these questions, hopefully be able to uncover that. And feel free to jump in here with some things you've heard or think yourself. But the first question here I think is important, which I don't hear a whole lot of this in terms of this team's overall success because they were so good last year on the mound, and it got them an 81-81 record. But can this pitching staff pick up where they left off last year? It's going to be huge for this team. And I wanted to kind of go back and just kind of look at some important things that are coming off of last year with their pitching staff. Okay, their top five starting out are going to be Nathan Eovaldi, Jacob deGrom, Jack Leiter, the newcomer Mackenzie Gore, and then it was announced a couple of days ago that Kumar Rocker is going to be the fifth starter, with Jacob Latz going back to the bullpen. Let's look at the top here with those two names. Of course, they are the big names, Nathan Eovaldi and Jacob deGrom. DeGrom, of course, had an outstanding bounce back season last year. Just outstanding.
Yes.
Problem with that is he's going to turn 38 years old this year, right? And he's already had, of course, 2 Tommy John surgeries. But he did have a really good bounce back last year, led the team in innings with 172 innings, with 185 strikeouts. That's, of course, well over 1 per inning. ERA was finished at 2.97. He was 12-8 on the year. Hey, Jacob deGrom was Jacob deGrom last year, just exactly what you signed for. But he is 38 years old, Jacob deGrom, with a history of arm trouble.
Right.
Eovaldi may have been better last year. He was 11-3 with a 1.73 ER. Didn't have enough innings to qualify, or he would have won the ERA title in the American League. He only finished with 130. If you remember, he went down, and then they just shut him down the rest of the season. Oh my gosh, a couple months before. He's back, but again, he turns 36. So you've got 2 really top-notch pitchers, 138 and 136. That's a question. Can they get close to what they did last year? That's important. Mackenzie Gore comes in. Be honest with you, I'm a baseball fan. Didn't really know a whole lot about Mackenzie Gore. Part of that's probably because he pitched in Washington, which has become a wasteland the last handful of years. But he got lit up starting the spring pretty hard. His first few spring starts, the last couple, he's actually kind of locked it down a little bit, to the point where I watched the exhibition game the other night that they played against the Royals. Looked pretty good. Looked pretty good for a 3 starter. Very excited to see what he's going to bring to the table this year. Jack Leiter. I'm one of those people who thinks Jack Leiter would solve your back end of your bullpen problems. But no one else that I talk to thinks that for some reason. They're determined on making him a starter, and I get that. But man, the kid throws triple digits, and when you've got a major hole at the back of your bullpen, I would like to see that kid be able to throw 4 or 5, ninth innings a week, rather as opposed to 1 start a week.
Sure.
But we'll see how that plays out. But again, he looked pretty good yesterday, pretty sharp. Has kind of, and again, it's kind of hard to make a prediction off of a 4-inning exhibition game, but he was pretty sharp yesterday with some things that he had trouble with last year, which was mainly finishing off counts. He was able to do that yesterday, again, in that small sample size. He's had a pretty good spring. Kumar Rocker, to be honest, I think he needs some more time in the minor leagues. I think he's going to be a pretty good pitcher at some point. He may eventually be a bullpen guy. But right now, they've invested so much time and effort into him. They're going to give him every opportunity to win a pitching spot in that rotation, and he's going to get the first shot here to do it. So he had an okay spring. His numbers this spring in 3 starts, he had a 4.26 ERA. I would take that, to be honest, in the regular season. If he can give me a 4.3 ERA, Rangers going to win a lot of ball games with that. So that's your pitching staff. The big question again: can they pick up where they left off because there's so many questions still on the offensive side of the ball. The first question I have to ask is this: Can Wyatt Langford finally become MVP type Wyatt Langford? I don't know. And again, I know you're a Cubs fan. I don't know how deeply you get into or following the Rangers, or you mentioned yesterday you rarely get a chance to watch them, right? How much do you know about Wyatt Langford?
Well, I know I'll tell you the Rangers are my no doubt number two. Like I root for the Rangers as long as they're not playing the Cubs. When the Rangers have made the World Series 3 times since I've lived here, die hard rooting for them. So that's kind of where I am on that. Wyatt Langford, I know a lot about simply because I follow college baseball religiously. Like I follow that very closely. And I think I've said this on the podcast. I still remember, after a World Series kind of pinching myself because you're like, and you get Wyatt Langford, like it's, it was shocking to me that a team like the Rangers could have got Wyatt Langford where they got him. So I expect big things from him this year. I think rookie year was kind of one of these, boy, it's exploding. And then sophomore slump last year, I'm expecting big things because I think he's an elite talent.
You mentioned sophomore slump. Here was his numbers from last year. 241 batting average. He had 22 home runs, 62 RBIs, 22 stolen bases. For a normal second-year player, those are decent numbers.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy that you drafted 4th overall coming off of your World Series win, and he never played or never played a game in the minors. I mean, he came directly to the majors the following season. With all this hype, I think we've kind of done him a disservice because, yeah, he's got all the ability in the world. He's been compared to another Mike Trout kind of player, which I think is just very unfair. We do that way too much. The next,
yeah.
Right? And so I think in my own mind, I have to really kind of think, okay, he's still just going into his 3rd year. He's had 2 years of pretty good baseball, but there's just always that feeling of there's more there, right? The potential is great. And I think at least here in the spring, we saw what we're talking about there, because in 16 games played, 48 plate appearances, he hit .415 with 5 home runs, 15 RBI. He didn't steal any bags, but that's not unusual in spring training, saving your legs kind of thing. He's a legit 30-30 guy. I mean, he really is. I mean, I would even go out there to say, I would not be shocked to see him get, 35 to 40 home runs and 45 to 50 stolen bases. I think he's got that potential to do that. Which if he does that, again, that's going to put him in the MVP race. And this offense needs that from Wyatt Langford. So be interesting to watch the start he gets off to. And can he finally turn that potential into reality? Another question here, and actually I'm cheating here because there's like a couple of questions in this particular one, but can Evan Carter hit a left-handed pitcher? Can he simply be competitive against left-handed pitching? And then finally, can he stay healthy? That's the thing that's going to determine the success of Evan Carter. Of course, everybody remembers Evan Carter. He was the Wyatt Langford of this franchise before there was Wyatt Langford.
Yep.
And he's just been unavailable. And that's his biggest problem to this point. He's just been unavailable. I dare say that, and again, putting all this in perspective for Rangers fans out there, myself included, he was a 21-year-old kid that came up, and we don't win the World Series in 2023 without Evan Carter being called up in September. It doesn't happen.
No doubt about it.
Impact And from that kind of impact, you're thinking, wow, we got us an MVP candidate. We got our leadoff hitter for the next 10 years. I mean, it was that kind of impact. And then you get into 2024, and he struggled at the outset, got hurt, and then he had the back problem, and he was gone by May. He comes back last year, back problem solved, and he has a couple of other little nagging injuries that eventually put him on the shelf for the season. So very important to look at this spring training. But right now, he is a left-handed hitting specialist. And when I say that, I mean he can only hit against right-handers because he is so ineffective against left-handed pitching that you can't afford to put him in a lineup because it's like having a black hole in it. The Rangers have tried everything. They've tried surrounding him with right-handed batters that can make him hopefully see better pitches. They've tried burying him in the nine hole against lefties to where it doesn't hurt you as much. Nothing they do has worked for this young kid. And again, that's the key thing, I think, is that he's a young kid, right?
Yeah.
One thing you're going to have to watch. Can he hit left-handed pitching? This spring, doesn't lend a whole lot of confidence. Overall, he only hit 167 in 46 plate appearances. This team, I'm just going to say this and put it out there, and we'll see if it comes out. But this team can be a contender for the AL pennant, and it may all come down to how effective is Evan Carter in that lineup. He may be the missing piece. Here's another missing piece, in my opinion, for the Rangers this year, and that is, will 2023 Josh Young come out of hiding? You know who Josh Young is?
Oh, of course I do. I mean, my goodness. Texas Tech, baby.
That Josh Young hasn't shown up the last couple seasons to the point
We have
where
not seen him.
there were some serious discussions, Matt, at the end of last season, if it wouldn't be best for him to have a change of scenery. He's been that bad.
Yeah.
Now, he's had injury issues as well. The little nagging things.
Yeah.
But it kind of bottomed out last year. He had a couple of stints that he got sent down to the minors, and he just struggled. I mean, he ended up hitting about 251. Well, actually 251, which is actually 10 points higher than Wyatt Langford. He had 14 home runs, 61 RBI. I mean, the numbers are okay. But again, the all-star Josh Young that we saw in 2023, and then the player, of course, that was drafted first out of Texas Tech in the first round, that guy has been non-existent the last couple seasons. We need that guy to show him back up again. Had a pretty good spring. He hit 333 again in 19 plate appearances. Problem was he was hurt for about 3 weeks at the first part of spring training. And he pulled one of these adductor muscles, which I don't even know where that is. I don't have a problem pulling many muscles because I don't think fat actually lends itself to pulling muscles.
Yeah.
So, I'm good there. I'm good there. I've never pulled a hamstring in my life. But Josh does it all the time, and he just gets these little nagging injuries. That's a big deal. If he can stay healthy and even approach maybe a 275 hitter with 20 to 25 home runs, again, I think it's going to be a good year for Texas if we can get that guy back. A couple more questions here as we do our Texas Rangers preview. Again, Major League Baseball finally starts off officially this evening. If you have Netflix, you can watch the Yankees and the Giants. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait till opening day tomorrow to follow your team as they have a full slate. I'm also going to do a preview tomorrow, Matt, for all of our friends out there who are Houston Astros fans. I promise you that one will be more negative than this one is. The subject matter, but I want to take care of my Astro friends out there. Another question here I want to ask is that can another bullpen by committee approach work? This is the biggest problem that I saw in the offseason outside of not getting really another bat or two. Didn't really address the bullpen, at least not in a way that was satisfactory to me. And the managers even come out and said it, and it's the dreaded, we'll go on a game-by-game basis as to how we manage our bullpen at the back end of it.
Which sounds like you just don't have a plan.
Yeah. And it also sounds like, if you've got, what's the saying? If you've got 5 quarterbacks, you have none.
Yeah, yeah.
If you've got 5 closers, you've got none. And the
Yeah.
Rangers don't have a closer. Right now, the leading candidates for closer on this team are Chris Martin, who is 39 years old, will be 40 by the end of this season, and Robert Garcia, who went through, I don't know if folks, and I'm going to go back a ways. I'm going to test your baseball knowledge here. Do you remember a young phenom pitcher that came up with the Atlanta Braves in the 90s by the name of Mark Wohlers?
Oh, yeah. I do.
Do you remember? I mean, this was a kid who back in the 90s, you didn't have a whole lot of pitchers that could throw triple digits and hit 100.
No.
Mark Wohlers was that guy. He could do that, and he had that hard breaking slider that would just translate so well to the game today. And he was that kind of guy, and he gets into the World Series and he gives up that home run to Jim Leyritz. Remember that in the World Series?
Yeah.
You're the same pitcher after that. That one moment broke him. Well, there was a stretch last year for Robert Garcia that reminded me of Mark Wohlers. Now, he doesn't have Mark Wohlers' stuff, but everything he threw left the yard. And he could not close the game out for about a 3 to 4 week stretch. Even it got to the point, of course, where he lost the closer job. Oats just put him back into a middle reliever. Well, anyway, he's your other guy that now is supposedly a Rangers closer. That's a red flag for me. Now, you look at some of these names, and again, watching the way they've done in the spring, I'm kind of cautiously optimistic that we have a better bullpen this year. Okay, Tyler Alexander. I don't know him, but he's a veteran that they signed, veteran lefty. I don't know if you saw a pretty cool moment the other night. This young man, Carter Baumler, who was a Rule 5 draft pick this winter by the Rangers. Skip Schumacher went out to the mound to make, of course, the pitching change, and actually told him on the mound that he had made the team. That was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And made a big deal about it. But then you got some other arms here who are young arms, but have a chance to give us a pretty decent bullpen. Cole Winn, who made an appearance last year, former #1 pick. He's back. He's only 26 years old. I mentioned Jacob Latz going back to the bullpen. He's going to be kind of one of those swing guys. He'll see some starts every now and then. A couple of those signees, one of them was Jacob Junis. The other one was Jalen Beeks. That's a righty and a lefty combo kind of thing. So there's some new faces out there that, again, from the middle innings on, we're going to be okay, I think. It's just whoever gets the ball in the ninth in a clutch situation. Rangers fans right now, at least in the early going, just hide your eyes and pray. Just go pray that we can get 3 outs in the ninth, because I don't know where they're going to get those 3 outs from.
I like hearing you mention Jalen Beeks. That's a former Razorback, so I've followed him. He's kind of been a little bit of a journeyman, but he's had some success. Before I jump in and say what I wanted to say, have you wrapped up talking about the pitching staff now?
Yes.
Okay. So, and you and I have already touched on this about how pitching and it wasn't the major issue last year. It was our inability to score runs. And, I went back while you were talking, I was going back and looking at some stats from last year. And you got one guy who batted over 251 who played in more than 100 games last year. And that was Corey Seager, who batted 271, which is still below his standards, I think. Like there were a lot of, like, the stats we read for Langford and Young weren't like bad, but they weren't good. And there was no one in that lineup that you would say had a good year at the plate, not a single player. And to kind of borrow from what you've said about the Dallas Mavericks, who are trying to tank, but at least being fun while doing it and enjoyable. Like when your pitching struggles, but your offense is good, it's still fun. when you fall behind 2-0 in the fourth inning and you're already panicking, like, I think this one's over. That's not fun. It's not enjoyable. And so I would just love to see what I want to see more than anything. I mean, I know pitching and defense is what, if you don't have pitching and defense, you're not going to win a championship. You're not going to win a division. I know that that's the name of the game, but my goodness, there's too much talent in that lineup to have another year like last year. Something's got to give. I am expecting, common sense and logic says that the Rangers are going to hit the ball better this year. And I sure hope so, because I was really grateful my Cubs were good last year, because it just was hard to watch when you give up a couple runs early and well, this one's over. I guess we'll look into the next one. And so I'm anticipating a turnaround in that area.
Yeah, and you mentioned it can't be any worse. The thing that scares me is, can it be the same? Because they have to go up. They cannot be the same team that we've seen the last 2 years. This has been a problem outside of their playoff run in October of that year. This has been a problem that goes back all the way to the beginning of 2023. They started off like gangbusters the first 2 or 3 months of the season, went into a slump, and it lasted and almost knocked them out of the playoffs. They found lightning in a bottle in 2023, and thankfully, got us a World Series, which they can never take away, right? Flags fly forever. Right. I'm still riding on that for sure. And there's another thing here that I think is very interesting to see as this season plays out is by all indications, the new manager, Skip Schumacher, has done a fantastic job kind of making this transition between managers. It's not easy to replace a legend.
Yeah.
And, the last 2 years notwithstanding, Bruce Bochy is a legend. I mean, 4 World Series championships, one of which was in Texas, of all places.
Yeah.
In his first year. The most masterful I've ever seen a bullpen or pitching staff be handled when you only have really 4, maybe 5 dependable arms to get you through a postseason run. And he found some way of maneuvering those arms around to where, we were able to win the World Series in 5 games after a couple of really tough playoff series before that. But can Schumacher replace the legend? He's kind of the wonder boy here. I mean, he went, of all places, to Florida in his first year and got him into the playoffs. They kind of bottomed out the next year, and he hooked them out of Miami and ended up in an advisory role last year with the Rangers, which when they made that move, to me, the writing was on the wall. Bochy was probably going to be done after his 3rd year. He was. So he was kind of the manager in waiting, and now he's got his shot. And everything he's done this spring, the other night, just as the example, the way he handled the Baumler thing was just, and that's pretty cool for a clubhouse, right? I mean, that's just the kind of thing you see. But can he manage this team? Can he be can he get Josh Young hitting again? Can he get Evan Carter somehow to hit lefties? Can he elevate Wyatt Langford's game? Can he keep Corey Seager being Corey Seager and also manage the pitching staff the way Bochy could? So I think that's a big question. It's like that anywhere. Can you replace a legend with a guy that's unknown? But hey, a legend becomes a legend by doing that himself, right? So hopefully this is good for the ball club. I got to be honest. I won't let myself get too excited yet. If this team can win anywhere from 85 to 90 games, I think probably be good for them. I don't think that's enough to win the division, unfortunately, but Seattle's too good.
Boy, right, they are talking a lot about Seattle on ESPN about the most likely team to lose to the Dodgers in the World Series.
Yeah, they're good everywhere. I'll talk about the Rangers pitching staff. They have the only pitching staff in the American League that can compare to Texas, and they're younger. So, we'll see what happens. But right now, Seattle is my prohibitive favorite to run away with the AL West.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, that's your Texas Rangers preview straight from what I know about it as a fan. That's the things I'm going to be watching for anyway. And I can't wait for baseball to get started, man. Ready for it to get here.
Yeah.
Okay. We will not, unfortunately, be previewing, unless you want to do it, the Chicago Cubs. Don't really have any interest in that personally, but I couldn't add anything to that conversation, to be honest, other than the fact that y'all tried to be the Dodgers. I mean, you've added, well, I don't guess you added anything. You kind of traded Kyle Tucker for
Bregman,
right? It's kind of a thing like that. I'd be upset. I'd be a little worried about that. At some point, Bregman's going to crash, man. He showed a little bit of it in the WBC. They couldn't get him off the field fast enough.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. That was a weakness at that spot. We knew we were going to lose Tucker. So we'll see. We're very young. Like, Bregman, we had a weakness at that spot. I do not believe we were looking into this season thinking Bregman is who's going to carry us at all. But we'll see. Hopefully we get to September and there's a lot of reason to talk about the Cubs. So we'll see.
Okay, that gives us a good segue into the back page portion of today's program. Matt, you kind of gave us a little bit of a teaser. What do you got on your back page for us this morning?
Well, first, this is not what I was referring to earlier, but since we just talked about baseball, I will mention it. Are you familiar with a name of a recent high school player in Texas, Carter Rutenbar?
Oh, gosh. How can I forget that name?
So Marshall Mavericks will remember him because he was the quarterback of Midlothian Heritage when they played them in back-to-back years in the playoffs. He beat the Mavs his first time, lost to the Mavs a couple of seasons ago, and is now a freshman at the University of Arkansas, but he's not playing football. He's playing baseball. For the number 4 team in the nation. He hit his first homer of the year last night in a victory over UCA. And even though he doesn't qualify because he hasn't yet had enough at bats, he's only got like 30-something at bats on the year. He's leading University of Arkansas in batting with a 406 average as a freshman from Midlothian Heritage. So I was watching that game last night and he hit a homer, and that's a name that, I remember watching him in the games with Marshall playing Midlothian Heritage thinking, I'm not rooting for you now, but I'll root for you when you get up there to Arkansas. So anyway, just thought that was kind of a cool little aside. But the main thing I wanted to talk about on my back page was, there's been a lot of talk in college basketball about the death of Cinderella with the NIL now. And there's some valid points there. We had High Point this year. You and I have talked about Texas is an 11 seed and they're in the Sweet 16, but no one's really calling Texas a Cinderella. Dan Wetzel on ESPN wrote an article, I believe it was yesterday, maybe this morning, that said, forget Cinderella, is NIL the death of the blue blood? And I started looking into it, and the 4 leading NCAA basketball programs in wins, all-time wins. They're not only called blue bloods, they're literally blue. It's Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky, right? Those are the 4 bluest of the blue bloods. And if you look in the last 30 years, every one of these teams has multiple titles, right? I mean, they're not just, I kind of feel like UCLA is mostly living off of the 70s with John Wooden, right? 60s and 70s. That's not how it's been. Duke and North Carolina and Kansas and Kentucky, 80s, 90s, early 2000s, 2010s, they were all super competitive, all competing for championships. Well, Duke's still right there, right? But North Carolina just fired their coach. Kansas has won 2 NCAA tournament games in the last 3 years. They got a win over California Baptist where they held on for dear life, and they got a win over Samford where if it weren't for an egregious missed call, they might have lost that game. And Bill Self might be about to retire. Kentucky, I mean, I don't know that it gets any worse for a program right now than Kentucky, who their coach walked away and they were happy, and he's gone to Arkansas and now having great success at Arkansas while they're had the most expensive roster in the NCAA, and they're struggling to get a tournament win. They were lucky to get a tournament win this year. Kentucky, North Carolina, and Kansas all might be losing their coach. One just did, and the other two might be losing their coach after next year, to be honest with you. Bill Self might leave after this year. And yet here are teams like Houston. Here are teams like Purdue. Here are teams like Iowa State that are good, really good basketball programs, but no one's going to call them blue bloods, who are navigating this thing great. And Kentucky and Kansas and UNC are trying to figure out where they are right now. So you take Duke out of the equation. I think it's a really good point. The blue bloods of college basketball are struggling to maintain that status. And I think it's really interesting to watch. I think we're worried that NIL's ruining the little guy, but also it's ruining the big guy too. So it's something's got to give there. It's maybe not as bad as we think. I just think that's really interesting.
Yeah, thanks for breaking that down. That's a lot going back there, and appreciate it. I kind of wanted to talk a little bit here about some things, and this won't take long. I did just notice something that popped up on my Twitter feed. I thought was just kind of funny. This is a tweet from Bussin' with the Boys. TCU head coach Sonny Dykes didn't hold back talking about former quarterback Josh Hoover heading to Indiana. This is a quote from Sonny Dykes. Josh started 31 games here as a quarterback and turned the ball over 42 times. I don't know if that sounds like disappointment that his guy left, or he's glad that he left. He's pointing out, throwing facts out left and right. Sonny there. So anyway, that looks pretty fun. That's kind of funny.
Yeah,
has nothing to do with my back page. I just wanted to share that. But man, did you see the upsets? And I'm just going to start calling these Upset Tuesday in college baseball. If I'm a highly ranked team right now, I can strongly consider canceling all of my midweek games the rest of the way. What a brutal night in the SEC, but really kind of across the country. Kennesaw State goes into Georgia, number 7 ranked Bulldogs, and defeat Georgia 10-7 last night. Campbell College goes to number 14 NC State and comes away with a 7-2 victory. Florida, which is unranked right now, not having their best of season, but has obviously a national title fairly recently. Coming off of an embarrassing series. I don't know if you saw that video of their coach the other night just losing himself in the dugout. Anyway, they go on the road, pick up a big rivalry win over number 10 Florida State with a 5-0 win. The Gators bounce back from that disappointing weekend. Memphis goes on the road to number 18 Ole Miss and comes away with a 6-2 win. And here's the one that hurts. Houston rallies from 7-0 deficit in the 5th inning against number 2 Texas. Pulls away a 9-7 victory. Man, I was watching that game, and it got into the 7th inning, and the Horns got out of there with a 7-6 lead. And I'm like, I'm not going to stay up and watch the rest of this because I can see where it's going.
Yeah.
What a bullpen implosion that they had last night. And look, I've been reading online today, and your offense quit after the 5th inning. I can buy that a little bit, but your offense also gave you 7 runs to play with.
Yeah,
against a Houston team that's struggling right now to stay above 500 in the Big 12, and they get beat 9-7. That hurts.
Yeah,
that hurts. As good as I was feeling coming off that weekend at Auburn, I'm back in the dumps again. Because they have no pitching on Tuesday night at Texas. So
you win 2 out of 3 against Oklahoma this week, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. It's the life of a Longhorn fan. It's literally day to day. But that was disappointing last night. But again, they weren't the only one in the country that suffered from the upset bug on Tuesday night, which happens every week. we talked about, man, it's pitching depth, and I have to believe NIL has something to do with this because, you know, the guys that used to could pitch on a Tuesday night for Texas are now probably weekend pitchers somewhere else because they just get money. So anyway, we'll see how they bounce back, obviously, with a big series coming up, as you said, against Oklahoma. Redemption draweth nigh.
There you go.
Speaking of Texas, I'm just going to put this out there. After their pro day yesterday, they had, of course, these are all underclassmen, but I'm just going to predict that the Horns could possibly have in the 2027 NFL draft up to 3 of the top 5 picks.
Wow.
When you look at quarterback Arch Manning, who's probably going to be the prohibitive number 1 favorite, then you got wide receiver Cam Coleman, and then defensive end Colin Simmons, who Steve Sarkisian said yesterday it's difficult to get through a practice without him destroying their offense. They can't run an offense because Colin Simmons is on the other side of the ball. I don't know if that's good for offense and Arch Manning or if that's really good for the Texas defense. But
yeah,
anyway, those 3 guys could possibly go in the top 5 of the picks next year.
Man.
I'm going to probably guess the other one of that would be Jeremiah Smith, and I don't know who would be the 4th one, but that's going to be a loaded draft next year. Talk about tanking in the NBA. We might see some tanking in the NFL this year. To get the top 5 picks.
No doubt.
Okay, that's going to close out the back page section of today's podcast. Very quickly, looking into this date in sports history, see if Matt is good on any sports trivia here, not since he's so younger than the rest of us. An event that happened on this date, quite consequential in golf. In 1934, the very first Augusta National Invitation Tournament, which of course became the Masters, took place today. The first winner, the first Masters champion was Horton Smith, who won the first title with a 20-foot birdie putt on number 17, and he finished 1 stroke ahead of Craig Wood. So there's your trivia. Who is the first Masters champion? It's a man named Horton Smith.
Man, I tell you, when we get a little closer to that, I got plenty to talk about with the Masters. I love that each year. Thanks to my father-in-law, I got an opportunity to go to a practice day and be out at Augusta on a Tuesday of Masters week. It's an experience unlike anything I've had. So yeah,
it is the Rose Bowl of golf.
Yeah, I think it's even beyond that.
Granddaddy of them all, right?
Yeah, like I felt like I was on a different planet. It was crazy. Crazy.
Well, anyway, that's pretty cool. The very first one was actually finished today, back in 1934. A couple of birthdays of note to mention here, and folks of my generation will certainly remember this fella. But born on this date in 1918, none other than sports broadcaster and journalist Howard Cosell. Are you old enough to remember Howard Cosell? Was he before your time? He passed away in 1995. So
a little bit before my time. Of course, sports journalism class I took in college, you read a lot about him. Being around sports, you can't avoid watching highlights that involve him. But as far as watching him live, not so much, but plenty of viewing of past ones that involved him for sure.
Cosell, of course, was on the original broadcast team of Monday Night Football in the early 70s. Also remember him. He was really, he was the, along with Jim Lampley. I don't know if you remember Jim Lampley, really in the boxing coverage back in the 70s before pay-per-view took that away. But Howard Cosell was one of those guys similar to what probably Stephen A. Smith is today. You have an opinion about him. You either like him or you don't. And that was Howard Cosell. My father couldn't stand Howard Cosell. And it was just iconic. I can hear his voice now. I mean, it's just one of those things that we've talked about. In your childhood, you remember those kinds of things. Anyway, today is Howard Cosell's birthday. And of course, again, he passed away in 1995. The other one here of note for me is from 1966. Born on this date is 2-time Cy Young Award winner Tom Glavine.
Yes, sir.
Came
I
up with the
remember that
Atlanta
one
Braves,
very well.
finished his career with the Mets and is actually in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Trivia note here: who was the Well, it's a terrible lead in for that. I was going to say, who was the winning pitcher in the Braves 1995 World Series clinching game? Of course, why would I ask that if it wasn't Tom Glavine, right?
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, he was on that staff with John Smoltz and Greg Maddux and then Steve Avery, for you folks out there who remember Steve Avery.
Woo.
And what a pitching staff that was. But anyway, Tom Glavine turns, oh my gosh, what is he today? That would be 59.
That would be 60.
No, 60. That would be 60. You are right, sir. So 60 years old for Tom Glavine. Happy birthday. Final word today is from Romans 12:21. It says, do not be conquered by evil, but conquer evil with good. You can't control what comes at you, but you can control how you respond. Choose to overcome evil with good. Let that be what defines you. He's Matt, and I'm David, and this is from the Press Box on the Right Team podcast. Thank you for listening and supporting us right here from the heart of the East Texas Piney Woods. If you enjoy the show, be sure to like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to check us out on YouTube at the Right Team Podcast. You can also follow us on Facebook for additional content and updates that you don't want to miss. We're just getting started, and we've got plenty more ahead with something for everyone, so stay tuned and never miss an episode. Finally, a big thank you, as always, to our sponsors, Styles Electric, East Texas Baptist University, and Right Team Services. We truly appreciate your support. Matt and I will be back tomorrow with another episode of From the Press Box. And again, a special teaser here. We expect to have his son Andrew back with us to give us a Sweet 16 preview. You don't want to miss that. But until then, have a great day today. Enjoy the blessings around you. And as always, keep writing your story.
This episode of the Right Team Podcast is also brought to you by Styles Electric. For over 25 years, Styles Electric has been providing reliable, professional electrical installation and repair service all throughout East Texas and beyond. We specialize in industrial and commercial projects of all sizes. We are proud to be a part of our communities and schools here in East Texas. Contact us today at 903-236-2536. That's Styles Electric, reliable, professional, and experienced. Did you know that someone somewhere is talking about you? Yes, your school district, your business, your church, your nonprofit group is always the subject of a conversation somewhere. Maybe it's Facebook gossip, maybe it's talk around the water cooler, maybe it's written in a newspaper or a blog somewhere. At Right Team Services, we work with you to manage that conversation more effectively to give all of your stakeholders an opportunity to hear your message. We help you create a culture of transparency in your organization that makes your customers and stakeholders feel comfortable as part of the story, and as a result, will help your business or school district become a more effective, trusted member of your community. Contact me today at rightteamservices@gmail.com to learn more about how Right Team can help you tell your story.